All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of the Barrett and Baxa podcast, a brand new podcast. My name is Steve Barrett, and I'm one half of the team.
And I'm Bob Baxa. I'm the other half of the team, getting myself situated here in my chair.
And
Being comfortable in your chair is important for podcasting, I believe. I believe that's important.
I'm starting it off in a hotel room. That's how dedicated we are to this.
Yeah. Yes.
For me, personally, this venture's nothing, I think, but fun, Bob. It's like a funny conversation between two friends that we happen to be recording and letting other friends listen to. So hopefully they have fun.
Other people who are cool enough to be invited to listen, and that will be determined by us.
We'll call them the chosen few.
Yeah,
so if you're one of the chosen few right now out of the gate, welcome, friends.
Welcome.
We're going to tackle some serious issues, and we're going to be very honest about our opinions, which will be fun. And we also want to tell you right out of the gate that we don't really know much about podcasting.
No, if you're looking for professional podcasting, you came to the wrong place. Turn that off right now. Go elsewhere.
Exactly.
This is not this. Yeah.
But we've listened to a lot of podcasts, and most of them suck. That's
horrible. They're horrible. They're really, really, really bad. Yeah. Like we're not going to name names, but we know people that are professional broadcasters that their podcast is it's atrocious how boring it is. It's really, really bad. So anyway, we're going to do better than that.
We are. And our first episode's brought to you commercial free, though, which is great for our listeners because we don't have any advertisers.
No one even knows who we are. So.
At all. But we do want to start with a little bit of background on Bob and myself. I'll start. I'm a retired street reporter. I was also a TV producer and a TV newsroom manager. I've kind of done just about every job there is to do at a television station. I retired from that, and now I like this because for the first time in my whole career, I'm actually going to be able to express my opinion on a microphone here. Bob, what's up with you?
I didn't even think about that. That's a good point. That is different for you. Well, I came from the broadcasting world as well. I was a radio and TV traffic reporter. I started off as a board operator at a tiny WSBR in Boca Raton, Florida. Probably has like 11 listeners. And they're all in a nursing home in Boca. And I remember being unbelievably nervous my first time on the air. But I went from there to radio in Miami, at Metro Traffic in Miami, became a radio traffic reporter. I've been on literally every radio station in Miami. In 2002, I made the jump to TV. I got hired at WFTV Channel 9 in Orlando to be the morning show traffic reporter. And I was there for just about 10 years. And I've also done almost every radio station in Orlando as an afternoon radio traffic reporter as well.
But we were in Orlando. We were on the same morning show for a very long time. And then at
years.
We became co-owners of a mini golf course that sits along International Drive in Orlando, which is kind of the big tourist strip down there. And Bob, we were the best of friends. I mean, we kind of did everything together. We really, really were close, and everyone who knew us knew that we were close. And then something horrible happened. Something really bad happened that led to us not really talking to each other for about 10 years. And here we are back talking to each other.
The team is back together, the B&B, baby.
Well, we hope so. We'll see how long this lasts, right, Bob?
Right.
And I'm hoping personally that there are a lot of people out there that are listening to this and watching this and thinking, what the hell happened between Barrett and Baxa? Because it all suddenly went south, and then all of a sudden, so I figured that it would be good, and you agree, that we would fill in the blanks of what happened between us. And we've kind of been referring to this episode as the Festivus episode. That's kind of a Seinfeld reference. And
the airing of the grievances.
Airing of grievances.
No, Seinfeld, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we were working together, and then we did the mini golf course. And then we got the idea of doing a show. We were going to call it Barrett and Baxa, and we wanted to do it kind of live or maybe even taped from the mini golf course. And we got so far that we actually had Travel Channel was going to do a pilot episode on
Yeah.
a tourist attraction rehab show that they were going to make. And so everything was going great with Volcano Island. I was actually still on TV at Channel 9. You were not. You were
Right.
exclusively at Volcano Island, but we're in the
Right.
verge of starting this great thing. And I joined this business venture that Bob was already in. I sunk a lot of money into it. Everything was going great. And then it all seemed to collapse. And that
Right.
was because of drug addiction.
Yes.
The last time I saw
My
Bob,
drug addiction.
Last time I saw Bob, I was helping him try and get clean and detox. It was a brutal thing for me to watch. And then at one point, Bob just vanished. And we were talking about all of this a few days ago, and we were really just trying to get microphones right and figure out how we were going to do this. But it came out so honestly, Bob, that I think we just have to play it for the
Absolutely.
listeners and let it
Yes.
tell its own story. So
Right.
here is that clip.
Since
Take-
I think that clearly in this situation, I am I'm the defendant and you're the plaintiff. So I think because I have no grievances against you, all grievances are against me. So should I make my opening statement?
Yes,
The
I was.
defendant-
I do recall that I was the one cleaning up vomit in the front lobby at Volcano Island headquarters as you slept on the couch sweating like a pig.
I don't even remember
I
that.
do
When did that
recall
happen?
this very, very. Yes, you don't remember? You
Huh.
spent like a week there trying to.
Oh, right.
It was when you were working at 7-Eleven.
Right. God, that
And
was
you came it like I think you lost your job at that point at 7-Eleven because the drawer would be like 38 cents off or something,
right.
and they were
Yeah.
mad because you
Right.
couldn't make it all perfect.
Well, and plus I was stealing money to buy drugs. I mean,
Oh,
the bottom line. Yeah. The funny thing
so it
is
was
you would think getting fired from 7-Eleven would be the low point. And yet, dude, I was on like the third floor at that point. I was nowhere near the basement. In fact, I might have been on like the seventh floor. I had at least 7 to 9 more floors down where
from the
I was
curled up
able,
on the couch stage.
right. I was
You went straight
no,
from 7-Eleven, just let me go, to I'm gonna do a deep dive now.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's very common in the
And then you
drug world.
stopped. Then you stopped, and it was like a week of couch curl
Oh,
and
right, right,
sweat
right.
and
Yeah, I went back into
and I was
it. Well,
amazed. I didn't like I'd heard, oh yeah, you know, when you're coming down off of that stuff, it's really, really bad. But I had no experience with it, and I'd never known anybody that had gone through it right before
right,
my eyes. So you were the
right,
first one that I ever saw, like, holy shit, this is
right,
intense.
right. Where did
Yeah.
this? I'm having a hard time even remembering this. Where did this take place?
It,
This was
this
in that.
this was in that front office of the warehouse that we got to
Okay.
store all the. Remember, we were
Right,
trying to
right.
redo the greens and everything, and putting up new lights, and
Right,
trying to
right.
turn it into because after the reality show fell through. Remember, HGTV
Yeah,
was going to do a show. It was
right.
about
Which would have been good.
it was a rehab show, but they were
Right,
instead of a restaurant, instead of a house, it was a family business.
right,
Rehab, a family
right.
business. And so we were going to be one of the first episodes, and then the HGTV or whoever was producing it got a new vice or new president or a new CEO, and the CEO went, "No, we're not doing that show anymore."
Right. Which
So
happens all the time. It has nothing to do with how good the show is. It has to do with a new guy comes in and he just across the board says, all right, all those shows are out. I got my shows that I'm going to do. And that happens everywhere in broadcasting. And it doesn't mean that his shows are good. It just means that they're his and he wants to do his own thing. But anyway, so let me just this episode is about what happened between Steve and Bob. Here's the way I look at it. I was a fucking hardcore drug addict. I was addicted to heroin. I was doing crystal meth. And you cannot be in business with a drug addict. You can't let a drug addict have access to cash. I mean, if you give me access to cash and I'm going to fucking take the cash and go buy heroin with it. And so that's what was taking place. I completely fucked Steve over. Stole money from the company, stole money from Steve to buy drugs, and it's the greatest shame of my life. It's fucking horrible that I did it, but I did do it. I can't deny that I did it. I did it. I stole money to buy drugs. That's the bottom line, and I, took my drug use to the point where I died. I was dead, and I was living in an apartment at the corner of Aloma and Cimarron with two other guys. I shot up. They found me unconscious on the floor. They called paramedics. As like I in my mind, I'm starting to come around a little bit. My eyes were closed, and I became aware that I was sitting on a bed. And for some reason, I heard the voices of people, and for some reason in my brain, I said, don't let them know you're awake. Pretend to be asleep. I don't know why I thought that. And then I opened my eyes, and this guy, Phil, my roommate Phil, was like, oh my God, Bob. And he gave me a big hug. And I immediately knew what had happened. I knew because I was very familiar with heroin. I had OD'd, and I was waking up. A couple of minutes later, the paramedics come in and the police. Now, one thing all addicts know is that when you call the police on a person when you call paramedics, they don't arrest, even though they clearly know there's drugs. You don't get arrested because they know that if we start arresting people, then they just won't call the fucking paramedics,
And they'll be dead.
And the person will be dead.
Yeah.
So we have to make the policy: if you call paramedics for your friend who OD'd, you will not get arrested, even though we can see the fucking drugs right there. So we knew we were in no danger of getting arrested. The paramedics could see that I was now conscious. They wanted to take me to the hospital, but I knew that I still had heroin in my pocket, which I wanted to do, even though it had just killed me, because heroin addicts, or at least had come very close to killing me, heroin addicts know that if you OD and you're unconscious, that means that the shit is strong. So that it's very attractive to the other people to do that same stuff. This is the fucking mindset of heroin users.
So I just watched someone. They OD'd.
Right.
So
Let
it must
me
be
get
good.
some of that.
Let me get I'll just take a little bit less.
A little bit less.
A little bit less than that guy.
That's
I'm good.
100.
Wow.
I know it's good because it just fucking put him unconscious. So instead of saying, wow, maybe I shouldn't do that, you're going to say, give me some of that shit. I know it's good.
Holy wow.
Yes. So I had to convince the paramedics, don't take me to the hospital. They asked me like different questions. Who's the president? Which at the time,
that's always the, are you nuts? Who's the president?
Right. Which was Barack Obama at the time, which I knew. And so they eventually they can't force you to go unless you're clearly a danger to yourself, which you would think putting yourself unconscious on heroin would qualify as a fucking danger to yourself. But
not really.
Not really. So I finally convinced them to leave. The cops left, and all three of us proceeded to do more of the heroin that had and they were like excited to do it because they knew how good it was. And we all did more right then. I mean, that was the point that I was at.
They left you there? You didn't go to the hospital?
No, I convinced them not to take me, and they left me there, and all of us did more heroin at that moment. So anyway, that's where I was at. At some point, we can get into, how I clawed my way back. That could maybe be for another episode. But for our intents here, bottom line, I stole from Steve. I stole from the business we had together to buy drugs. It's fucking horrible, but that's what I did. And, I've told Steve, obviously, before this moment that I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't really cut it all that much, but what else can you do other than to say you're sorry? So that's what happened. That's my side of the story.
And we lost track of each other long enough that you never heard like what happened in the meantime on my side because you were off, doing your thing.
ODing and dying.
I thought, man, this is fantastic. This is a good business. It's a mini golf course right on I-Drive in the middle of Orlando. Like all the tourists are coming by. People were walking in, handing us cash and going and playing in the backyard. It's the simplest business you could possibly run because
who's ever gotten mad?
They hand you money.
Yeah,
they hand you money.
You say, go ahead, go play.
So you give them a ball, give them a stick, you're gone. and that's it.
Right.
You have their
That's it.
money, and then you don't even talk to them
Right.
unless they get the hole in one at the end, and
Right.
then you give them a free pass or whatever.
And they don't
But
want you to talk to them. They don't want anything more from you.
so I went out and I got us, it wasn't a liquor license, it was a beer and wine license. And we were the
Right.
only mini golf on iDrive where you could, get a bucket of beer and go
Right.
walking around and play mini golf. And people loved it. Um, and so at that, but it was a lot of cash business. I mean, this was right at the beginning. I mean, I don't even think there was Venmo. There was like PayPal, and we could
Right.
use the Stripe or whatever I forget
Square.
Square. We used
Yeah.
Square, and they would just like it was just money from their credit card into our bank account, straight into our
Right.
account. And so there was always money there, but there was also a lot of cash,
A
which
lot of
obviously
cash.
was your problem. And
Right.
so I noticed that the cash would be, one day, one Friday, it'd be like, wow, 2,500 bucks in cash sales. And then the next Friday it would be like $120 in cash sales. So I'm like, doesn't seem right to me.
Right.
Meanwhile, you are the daytime manager and I'm the
Right.
nighttime manager because I'm burning it at both ends. I'm
Right.
on TV in the morning, every morning on the morning news. And
Right.
then I go there. And in the meantime, on the weekends, I have a band that I'm in. So
Right.
we're going to a show in Georgia or, wherever,
Right.
Mobile, Alabama or South Florida or whatever. So I'm doing all of this. I don't really have time to take care of it all. And the whole agreement was I'll invest some money to help fix it up.
Right.
And Bob, you'll kind of run things. You'll
Right.
handle the day-to-day operations. Well, I ended up with the day-to-day operations at that point. And
Right.
then you started doing things like painting the picnic tables orange because you thought that people would see the picnic tables painted orange, but you only painted them like halfway. Like you ran out of
Right.
orange paint, and
Right.
then at
Or
one
I ran out
point,
of drugs, and that was what was
yeah, and that was
motivating me to
right.
do it. Yeah,
So
that could be it.
we got the volcano exploding again because we had
Yeah.
that giant tank in the back that uh,
Propane.
propane
Yeah.
tank. I
Right.
had them dig up for a new propane tank because the old one was old, and we
Right.
flew that guy in, and he made the volcano explode again. So we had this
Right.
wonderful little business and a nightmare of a landlord
Right.
who, as soon as the big Ferris wheel in Orlando One or whatever they called that thing.
The Orlando Eye.
Yeah, he decided he wanted to double the rent. And I
Right.
said, no, here's the lease.
Right.
You can't just double the rent. We have a 20-year lease. And he said, well, I didn't sign it with you, Steve. I signed it with Bob. Where's Bob?
Right.
And I'm like, shit.
I don't know where
I
Bob
don't know.
is.
One, last time I saw Bob, he was sweating and throwing up on the couch at the office,
Right.
um, living there. It was, so that was my thing was that it kind of as soon as I came into the fold, as quickly as I was trying to fix things, they were unraveling more and more and more and more. But
Right.
then I met the love of my life and I ended up in Minnesota and it all worked out fine for me. But you, on the other hand, went off the rails, and the next thing I knew, you were like living at the Salvation Army,
Yes. Yeah.
which
I
you
mean,
love the Salvation Army now,
oh my God,
apparently.
they saved my life. I mean, and I'll tell you, for anyone who's watching this right now, in every city in America, every large city, and I mean, there's one in Jacksonville, Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, St. Petersburg, and Tampa. So no matter where you live in Florida, you are close. It's called the Salvation Army ARC, Adult Rehabilitation Center. And you go in there, they take you in, they bring you into their building, you live there. It's on Colonial Drive, west of John Young. And you live there. When I was there, it was 9 months. I think it's now 6 month program. And they give you a job. The thing with the Salvation Army is that they have a thing called work therapy. And part of it is a way to get around the minimum wage laws, but a major part of it is because addicts have no fucking clue what it means to get up and go to work every day. I obviously had gone to work every day when I was at Channel 9. I mean, I have that in my background, but a lot of these addicts have literally never done anything except deal drugs and done crime. So they don't know what it's like to get up and go to work every day. So you sleep in a dormitory style room. They give you clothes. If you come in there as a homeless person, you have no clothes. They will take you over to the store where they sell clothes. and they'll give you free clothing. So, I mean, it's like Jesus Christ clothing the homeless. They clothe you, they feed you, you eat there every day, you live there. The first 30 days, you're not allowed off the property. You're not even allowed to go outside. You have to stay inside because that's when the most relapses happen. And then after 30 days, you can go out as long as you're back in a certain amount of time. You get breathalyzed every time you come in. You get random drug testing. And my job was folding clothes. So I can still remember the first day how it was like, it was horrible. I hated it because it's 8 hours of standing there folding clothes and putting them on a hanger. You get these big bins of clothes that have come in as donations. So they're all wrinkled and messed up. And there was a lady who was an employee. She would take out a piece of clothing. She would say, this will sell in the store for $3. She'd throw it in the $3 bucket. This will sell in the store for $8. Throw it in the $8 bucket. And there'd be all these giant garbage cans full of clothes. And my job, one piece at a time, take the piece of clothing out, put it on either a shirt hanger or a pants hanger, hang it on a rack. And when you get to 100, that's one rack that you finished. And you have to do 10 of those per day. And my first day, it was horrible. My back hurt. But I realized I'm a homeless person. I have nowhere to go. Like, this place is my last resort to live. Like, I had used up every possible couch. I had fucked over every possible friend that I could fuck over. There was
True.
nothing left except actual homelessness. And the Salvation Army got me off drugs, got me back into, society, and saved my life. It's the greatest thing in the world.
Well, I think it's great that you can look back at that now and tell the story with like the honesty that you tell it with.
Right.
Because I think of you as like a unique individual because you've always been like very honest and open about things.
Right.
You've just always been that way. And I
Right.
think it's good. And it helped me. Like I saw you doing this, like from afar. I'm like, what the fuck is Bob doing now? What? He's living at the Salvation Army. Now he's like
Right.
posting all day about the Salvation Army is great. This is wonderful.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Right.
And
Right.
you'd be holding up the sign or some, or,
Yeah.
feeding someone, or you'd be there with
Yeah.
Tom and,
Yeah.
but here, I want to show you something though, real quick. I got to take my headset off to do it, but
All
this
right.
is I guess a little surprise that you'll remember.
What is it?
Can you see? Can you see what's back there, Bob?
Not really. No, it's too far. Oh, is it a Van Halen thing?
No, that
Okay.
light.
What is it?
That light is that dinosaur light that used to sit at the desk at Volcano Island.
Oh, yeah, right. I do see that
So
now.
that's a little bit
Okay.
of Volcano Island right
Look
back
at
there.
that. The dinosaur light.
So,
Cool.
so for me, then Volcano Island just kind of, we had that horrible landlord that was just
Right.
like, remember his wife would come over and start trimming bushes with scissors.
Yeah.
You know,
What the fuck?
Or he would remember once we had all these beautiful palm trees, and one day we showed up and there was a crew on the property just cutting all of them, trimming them
Right.
all back to nothing. So that's the kind of thing that would happen. So then once the Orlando Eye went in, he decided that that was the reason to double the rent.
Right.
I said, I didn't have you anywhere to fight it legally because I hadn't really signed the lease.
Right.
And so, I mean, I could have fought it, would have cost a lot of money.
Right.
And it just wasn't worth it because he had been so much trouble that I just said, okay, forget it. I'm walking away. We've
Right.
paid a lot of teenagers to work here. We've done a good thing. Let's get out. And so I took all of the clubs that we had bought, all of the balls that we had, and I took them down the street to the guy at the next golf place over.
Right.
And I said, hey, listen, I'm moving out of this place, but I don't want them to go to waste. And I definitely don't want to leave them there at the other mini golf, because there are like 9 mini golfs up and down International Drive.
Another problem with trying
Yeah.
to run a mini golf on iDrive is there's 8 fucking competitors within a mile. Like,
Yeah.
it's a highly saturated mini golf environment, shall
It
we
is.
say?
And so today that little mini golf stands empty. No,
Empty.
it never reopened. After
Never.
I walked away that day, never reopened.
Here's the problem with Volcano Island. First of all, it's set back from iDrive. I think that is one issue. Number two, there. First of all, people come to Orlando on vacation. You're there. Let's say you're from Germany. You come to Orlando for a week. You're going to do 2 days at Disney, 2 days at Universal, and then you have 2 other days where you're going to do something else. There are literally thousands of options for what that something else will be. A lot of people maybe say, we're going to do nothing today. We're paying for this hotel. Let's just hang out at the pool. Or maybe people say, we're going to play mini golf. Now, once they make the mini golf decision, there are literally 9 options up and down I Drive, and the super nice one that's at City Walk at Universal. So, nobody needs to come to your particular mini golf. There's only so much money to go around. There's only so many days that tourists are going to be there. So it creates a challenging environment to make a mini golf work. That's the way I kind of look at it. And the other thing they tell you in business school is when you start a business, one of the first things you should make sure is that your business partner is not a heroin addict.
Right.
I believe that's in the MBA program at Harvard. They tell you about that. I think that
that's
is
like first chapter. I think they put
I think
that in
that
the
is
preface.
chapter 1.
So one more Volcano Island story before we move on. I remember distinctly once this guy comes over and he says, "Hey, I'm going to bring my whole family. We can't wait. We were in the hotel next door. We want a mini golf. What time do you guys open tomorrow?" Well, this is a Wednesday and the next day is Thursday, Thanksgiving. Well, Europeans don't know anything about this thing we call Thanksgiving, that it's like everything shuts down. So I had plans to leave town. In fact, that was the weekend that I came to and met up with Nancy and ended up dating Nancy. So that Thanksgiving I was going away. And I said, he was heartbroken. He was like, "I told my kids and we're leaving on Friday and they wanted to go mini golfing the whole time we've been here. And you guys are really closed?" And I said, "Yeah, we are." And I said, just off the top of my head, I said, "You know what I'm going to do? That gate back there, I'm going to leave it unlocked tomorrow morning and just come over. I'm going to leave some clubs right outside here and some balls. Just come over with your family and golf. It's on me. I feel bad. I understand what happened." Because the kids wanted to golf all week and he kept saying, "No, we'll do it on Thursday."
And they don't really need
He didn't know
you.
Thursday was Thanksgiving. No, he didn't need me. So I let the guy, he left me the nicest note pinned to the wall. He like taped it or
nice.
left a note with the things. But his kids were so excited they couldn't believe it and they had the whole place to themselves. So
which is pretty fun. They probably liked it better.
Oh, I know.
And
they probably played like 6 rounds of golf.
Oh, you know it. Yeah, but who cares? That's the other thing about mini golf.
I said, stay out of the, and I knew it was an insurance. I was like, damn, we got paddle boats. We've got like, you can fall down a flight of steps or something. Yeah. Yes. Trip on a golf ball. So, but I didn't worry about it. I said, this guy's come all the way from Europe and I don't want to break his kid's heart. And I think he had like 4 kids or something. So,
Right. That's
because I had to put the clubs. I said, "How high are they?" And I had to go, "Okay, that's for the 8-year-old. This one's for the 7-year-old."
Well, that was nice of you that you did that.
Yeah,
very cool.
And meanwhile, I can't find Bob.
Right. So,
yeah.
So
anyway,
what I mean,
that's the Festivus. So
that's what
episode.
happened between.
That's the grievance.
That's the airing of the grievances. Steve has very, very magnanimously taken me back into the fold. I was all the way in the fold. I mean, I felt genuinely Christmas.
Even after you had royally screwed me over, I still felt bad for you because it was the first time in my life that I'd ever seen like that desperate. I mean, I'd seen addiction and things like, I'd known people, alcoholics and whatever, but I had never seen addiction that was so hopeless and just like there was nothing anybody could do. And and at that point, like everyone was gone. I remember even I think like members of your family were like, "Yeah, Bob, not a good idea to come stay with me."
No, dude, that was the thing about the Salvation Army. I had worn out every couch that was possibly available to me. I had been living on basically almost a stranger's couch for like 6 months. I was shocked that I made that last. And this was these guys that found me when I was unconscious. And basically, the way I got that is I had met him like a friend of a friend of a friend, and he was afraid to go buy heroin, but he wanted heroin, but he was like afraid to go into the hood. And of course, at that point, I didn't give a fuck about going into the hood. So the deal that we kind of worked out was that I would be the one who would go procure the drugs. And in exchange for procuring the drugs, I could sleep on his couch for free. And at that point, that was a fantastic deal. I loved that deal because what I used to do, this shows you how despicable drug addicts are. I would rip off my drug friends. So they would give me money. So we would all pool our money. Let's say we were getting 10 bags and they're $10 each. So I would go get the 10 bags. Then I would go, before I would go back, I would like go into the bushes somewhere behind a building. I would take one of the bags and I would pour a little bit from each of the other 9 bags into the one bag. So there was one bag that was like ultra packed and 9 bags that were each missing a little bit. And I would keep the ultra packed one as one of my bags. And then I would give them, I would just be like, here's your bags. And as long as you didn't take too much out of each bag, no one would really, really see the difference because you were only taking it. So I was even ripping off other heroin addicts. I mean, so it just.
I actually remember this from my like high school, college pot smoking days when you would send one person to go meet with
Yeah,
this strange
yes,
guy that nobody
right,
was allowed to know. And
right.
like that was back when, unfortunately, even weed was like you were paranoid at all times. But you
Right.
called it pinch. They would pinch. You said, "Hey, man, you pinched my bag.
Yes.
You
I
pinched,
pinched I
didn't you?"
pinched the heroin. Yes, I pinched
You were
the heroin.
pinching, is what you
I
were
was
doing there.
pinching the heroin. But the way I justified it is that I was taking and you always try to justify like, hey, I'm taking the risk. I'm the one who could get arrested, which is true. Let's face it, you're a drug addict. You really shouldn't trust other drug addicts. Like they are going to rip you off. It's kind of just part of the deal. But anyway, so I should just throw out my original clean date was February 8th, 2016. That's the day I entered the Salvation Army. And I did 3 years clean. And then, of course, I had to relapse because why do anything the fucking correct way? Why not fuck up even the good things in your life? So I relapsed in 2019. And just for a brief period of time, I quickly saw like, I will lose everything again. Like you quickly go right back down. And I saw how quick it was happening. So August 1st, 2019 is my current clean date. So this coming August will be 6 years clean. So that's where I'm at now. 6 years clean, almost 5.5.
Oh, well, good for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right, there you have it. We're not actually going to leave you hanging on the edge of the seat because we thought that we needed to kind of put a button on that long segment that you just saw, which happened just, about a week and a half ago. The end result of the whole story was that Bob and I are now communicating this way, but we still have not seen each other in person at all since
Right.
that couch incident.
Right. And, even though for the people that are watching this, you just heard me say, I'm sorry, 20 seconds ago, but for us, it's a little, it's days later that we're doing this. And so I just want to say again, obviously I'm very sorry that this happened. It was terrible. I was a complete piece of shit. And I'm very sorry that it went down this way. It did go down this way. When your drug addicts disappear, you can be very certain they are going to buy drugs. So don't let your drug addict disappear from your house or get out of your sight because they're going to buy drugs.
And
So anyway, that's
here's
what happened.
Here's the crazy part is that we've now decided that somehow we are going to go back in time and pick up where we left off. And we are going to let all of our friends and anybody else who wants to join us
Yeah.
basically watch and see what happens. So we're going to make this happen. We're both dedicated to it. We're going to put on a podcast that's about a lot of journalism because that's what Bob and I know. A
Yeah.
lot about how the media covers this new media landscape, how broadcast news collapsed. We'll have a lot of things in there, but we're peppering it with all kinds of personal stories. We have lots of personal stories, Bob.
Lots of fun stories.
Yeah, you're not even done with wait till they hear you riding around in the truck with all the other drug addicts and their crazy stories.
Right.
That's for another
Yeah.
episode. You got to listen. It's going to get better. It's going to get better, I promise you. But if you guys
Absolutely.
want to communicate with us, do it through barrettandbaxa@gmail.com. Feel free, send us an email, tell us what you think of the show, and tell us what you think we should cover. Right, Bob?
Absolutely. Please. We'd love to hear from you guys. We have a lot of opinions on a lot of issues. You're going to hear about politics. You're going to hear about journalism, as Steve just said. I mean, I've got a little notebook here with all the different things I've thought that we should talk about. And we're going to talk about a lot of stuff, fun stuff, serious stuff. Basically, we're people that just talk too much. So we're hoping that you enjoy the fact that we talk too much. That's
Yeah.
what this podcast
We
is.
need we
Us
need
talking.
people who like to listen too much.
Right. People that listen to us talking too much.
All
So
right.
that's where we're at.
That's where we're at. Episode 2 coming up.